66% of young men are single. And depending on who you listen to, that number either makes you angry or it makes you want to give up. But what if the real problem isn't what you think it is? "66% of young men are single." And when you hear that number, it's easy to start filling in the blanks. Something must be broken. Something must be unfair. Something must be working against you. But before we jump into conclusions, we need to slow down and actually understand what's happening. Because the truth is, this number is real, but the meaning behind it isn't as simple as people make it out to be. A lot of the conversation right now is focused on one idea: that young men are being left behind in the dating world, that women are choosing differently, that the standards have changed. And to some degree, that's true. More women are entering the workforce and building careers earlier, and many of them are still looking for a partner who is at least at their level, if not ahead of them. So naturally, what happens? Some of those women start dating slightly older men who are a few years further along, more established, more stable. Now, on the surface, that can feel very discouraging if you're a guy in your early 20s, because it feels like you're being overlooked before you've even had a chance to build anything. But here's where we need to be careful, because it's very easy to hear all of that and come to the wrong conclusion. It's very easy to say, well, the system is broken. Women's expectations are unrealistic. There's nothing I can do. And that mindset is exactly what keeps men stuck. Because the reality is, this isn't the first time in history where young men had to become something before they were seen as ready. That's always been the journey. The difference now is that everything is happening in public, through social media, through dating apps, through constant comparison. So instead of quietly building your life, you're watching everyone else's highlight reel while you're still in the middle of your process. And that does something to your mindset. It makes you feel behind, even when you're right on time. There's also something else happening that doesn't get talked about enough. A lot of young men today are checking out, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. They try dating apps, nothing happens. They put themselves out there, get rejected. They hear conflicting advice online, get overwhelmed. And after a while, they stop trying. Not because they don't want connection, not because they don't want a relationship, but because it starts to feel pointless. And when that happens, something else fills the gap. Distractions, comfort, endless scrolling, content, escapes that require nothing but give nothing back. And over time, the problem isn't just that a man is single, it's that he's disconnected. Disconnected from purpose, disconnected from growth, disconnected from other men. And this is where the conversation needs to shift. Because being single at 22, or 25, or 28, or 35 isn't the problem. The real question is, what are you doing with that season? There's a verse from Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10 that says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus, so we can do the good things He planned for us long ago." This means your life has direction, but direction doesn't come from waiting to be chosen. It comes from building something. And here's the part that might challenge you a bit. If you spend your early 20s waiting for validation, from women, from dating apps, from attention, you're going to feel like you're losing. But if you spend your early 20s building, you're not behind. You're preparing. Because the truth is, most men don't fully step into who they are until later. Not because they're incapable, but because growth takes time. For me, that was 35 years old. It takes time to build discipline, to develop confidence, to figure out what you actually want your life to look like. And that process doesn't always look impressive from the outside, but it matters. There's another verse from Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 that says, "Work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people." That changes the focus completely. Because now you're not building your life to impress someone. You're building it because it matters. And when you do start doing that, something shifts. You stop obsessing over where you stand in the dating market. You stop measuring your worth based on who's choosing you. And instead, you start becoming someone worth choosing. Not because you're chasing validation, but because your life has substance. And one of the most overlooked parts of that? Brotherhood. Real friendships with other men. Not surface level, not just online, real connection. Men you can train with. Men you can struggle with. Men you can grow with. Because when you build that, you're not just less lonely, you're stronger. You're sharper, more grounded, more aware of who you are. And ironically, that's the kind of man people are drawn to. But even if it wasn't, it would still be worth building. Because your life shouldn't rise or fall based on whether someone chooses you. It should be built on something deeper than that. So yes, 66% of young men today are single. But that statistic doesn't tell the full story. It doesn't tell you who those men are becoming. It doesn't tell you what they're building. And it definitely doesn't determine your future. Because the danger isn't being single. The danger is becoming passive. Drifting, waiting, checking out. And if you're honest, that's the real temptation right now. To believe that things won't change. To believe that it's not worth the effort. And if you're honest, that's the real temptation right now. To believe that things won't change. To believe that it's not worth the effort. But that belief, that's the trap. Because the moment you accept that, you stop moving. And the moment you stop moving, you actually become stuck. So here's the shift. Don't build your life around the question, why am I single? Build it around this. Who am I becoming? Because if you focus on that long enough, everything else starts to align. Not perfectly, not instantly, but directionally. And direction is what changes everything. You're not behind. You're in the middle of becoming. Don't waste that trying to be chosen. Use it to build a life that actually matters. And that's the better story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell to get my weekly videos immediately when they're released. Take care.